Welcome to the channel. This video is part of our mission to help you grow, think, and live better. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to skyrocket toward success, while others, despite their best efforts and greatest intentions, remain stuck in place? Maybe you felt a little discouraged after setting bold goals and not seeing the progress you hoped for. You're definitely not alone. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson speaks directly to that feeling, and it does so in a way that might surprise you. It offers a simple yet powerful idea that the most significant changes in your life often start with the smallest, everyday decisions. This notion may seem almost too basic at first, but the more you think about it, the more you realize how these day-to-day choices can build momentum that ultimately leads to extraordinary outcomes. If you've ever searched for a friendly, practical guide to help you break through the invisible barriers that seem to hold you back, then you might find yourself nodding along and thinking, yes, this is exactly what I need. There's a calm and reassuring message in The Slight Edge that reminds you that you don't need to solve everything overnight. You just need to keep going, one manageable step at a time, and trust that these small efforts will accumulate into a force much greater than you imagined. From the very beginning, the book encourages you to embrace the concept that ordinary steps repeated consistently become the building blocks of massive achievement. The idea is both comforting and empowering. You don't have to be a genius, a celebrity, or a guru to start making strides in your life. Instead, you simply need to show up daily and commit to small, positive actions. Jeff Olson shares stories and examples that illustrate how success and failure doesn't happen in a sudden burst, but rather it evolves from a series of choices that you might initially dismiss as insignificant. It's much like planting seeds in a garden. Each day you water them just a little bit, give them some sunlight, remove the weeds, and over time you start to see a sprout, then a flower, and eventually a thriving plant. You wouldn't expect a seed to grow into a giant tree overnight, so why expect your personal growth, finances, or relationships to transform at lightning speed? This gentle reminder that growth takes time feels refreshing, especially in a world that often pushes you to want everything right now. What makes the book particularly impactful is how it frames the idea that simple actions are just as easy not to do as they are to do. Think about reading a few pages of an inspiring or educational book each day. It seems like a small task, and you might tell yourself it's no big deal if you skip it today. But over time, those missing pages mean you might never develop the understanding or spark of an idea that would have come from finishing that book. Conversely, if you do keep reading a few pages each day, you'll look back after a couple of months or a year and realize that you've read multiple books, gained fresh insights, and perhaps even transformed your perspective. The Slight Edge teaches you to recognize these tiny forks in the road. Every day, you face multiple decisions that may appear trivial, but they add up. By doing the small, helpful thing consistently, you stack the odds in your favor. By neglecting that small action, you let those opportunities slip by, never seeing the possibilities that might have come from them. It's an empowering message because it puts you firmly in the driver's seat of your life. You begin to see that greatness isn't the result of some mysterious force. It's the result of ordinary people doing consistent work with unwavering belief. Jeff Olson also addresses the reality that your habits can work either for you or against you. The slight edge is always in effect. There's no pause button. If you're making healthy choices each day, you're on a subtle upward curve that lifts you closer to your goals, whether they're financial, physical, emotional, or spiritual. However, if your daily choices lean toward neglect, like ignoring sound advice on investing or regularly indulging in unhealthy food when you know it harms your body, you might find yourself on a slow but steady downward curve. And that's often the big revelation for many of us. Both success and failure creep up in tiny increments, not giant leaps. When you realize this, you start paying attention to what you do consistently, and you become more aware of how those routines shape the direction of your life. That realization can be both exciting and a little nerve-wracking, but overall, it's inspiring because it means change is possible for anyone. Another heartening theme in The Slight Edge is the focus on personal philosophy. You learn that the beliefs you hold about yourself and the world strongly influence the path you take. If you believe that significant accomplishments require monumental effort or a stroke of luck, you might miss out on noticing how small, deliberate steps could lead you to that big result you once thought was out of reach. Jeff Olson brings attention to the fact that your mindset, how you interpret setbacks, whether you view yourself as capable, and how you respond to challenges, plays a huge role in whether you keep going or give up before reaching a breakthrough. It's not about being overly optimistic in a naive way, but rather holding on to the conviction that your consistent actions truly matter. This perspective shift can have a ripple effect in all areas of your life, from how you approach tasks at work to how you nurture your relationships. As you journey through the book, you might notice how Olson weaves in stories of real people who exemplify the slight edge in action. These aren't extravagant hero tales. They're typically about everyday individuals who decided to keep doing the little things, day in and day out, even when it didn't look like they were making much progress. Over time, their diligence paid off in a big way, often surprising them as much as anyone else. These anecdotes create a connection between you and those real-life examples, showing you that you too can harness the same power if you simply persist. The consistency factor is stressed so often for a good reason. If you can stay focused on small tasks long enough, the compound effect will eventually reward you. To add to that, you begin to internalize that success is not about one giant leap. It's about a series of baby steps that you commit to each day. One of the most memorable ideas in The Slight Edge is that it's incredibly beneficial to make your actions so simple and so automatic that you almost don't have to think about them. For instance, let's say you want to improve your fitness. You could start by committing to just 10 minutes of brisk walking every morning. It's not a big deal, and it doesn't require some extraordinary burst of willpower. But as you keep doing it, that 10-minute walk might become a 30-minute walk. And maybe you'll start adding light jogging or weight training. Over several months, you'll see and feel tangible improvements. The brilliance is that what started as an easy, no-excuses habit ends up being a powerful catalyst for transformation. This principle applies to just about any area of life, whether it's financial savings, learning a new skill, or nurturing your relationships. A friendly phone call, a short daily meditation, an extra few dollars set aside each week. Those are the easy things that repeated add up in ways that can amaze you once you gain perspective on how far you've come. You'll also find that The Slight Edge addresses the importance of routines and rituals. While that might sound a bit dull at first, the message is actually quite uplifting. Routines free up your mental space for bigger, more creative thinking. If you take the guesswork out of whether you're going to eat a healthy breakfast, practice a skill, or put away some money into a savings account, you give yourself the chance to become that person who is always improving, always moving forward without feeling like it's a massive ordeal. And then, when an opportunity arises, maybe a new job prospect, a chance to start a side business, or an unexpected creative spark, you have the energy and confidence to seize it. Why? Because your daily habits have already built up a foundation of discipline and self-belief. You become the kind of person who makes things happen rather than the one who passively lets life unfold without direction. There's also an interesting observation in the book about how easy it can be to start neglecting these small actions once life begins to improve. Perhaps you begin to see some success in your finances, and that initial hunger to keep reading about investments and making careful choices diminishes. Or maybe you lose a bit of weight and decide that skipping your regular walks won't hurt much. The Slight Edge warns that this lull can push you onto the downward curve, because once you stop doing the basics, it's only a matter of time before you slip back into old patterns. Hearing that message can be a wake-up call. You realize that the hardest part isn't necessarily starting your new habits, but continuing them even when things start looking good. It's about staying humble, consistent, and mindful of how these seemingly small choices can shift your entire trajectory. If there's one big takeaway you keep coming back to, it's that your success is in your own hands, every single day. Jeff Olson doesn't just present a theory, he makes it real by suggesting practical ways you can start applying the slight edge immediately. For many readers, this includes writing down daily actions or establishing mini goals that are so straightforward and achievable they don't create resistance. If you want to read more, for example, you might set a goal of reading 10 pages a day. That doesn't sound like much, but over the course of a year, you'd have read 3,650 pages, which is the equivalent of a dozen or more books depending on their length. If you stick to this principle, you'll likely notice that your knowledge base, your conversation topics, and your overall perspective shift in ways that can open doors you never saw before. When you multiply these small goals by every area of your life, health, relationships, career, finances, the potential becomes enormous. The Slight Edge also champions the idea of accountability, both to yourself and to others. You realize that you can strengthen your commitment to those daily actions by sharing your plans with people you trust or by joining a community that's also focused on personal growth. There's a friendly nudge throughout the book that reminds you how supportive relationships can help keep you on track. Whether it's a workout buddy, a mastermind group, or just a friend who checks in on your progress, the power of positive influence can be the difference between giving up when things get tough and persisting until you reach a breakthrough. Jeff Olson points out that while your individual efforts are crucial, none of us really accomplishes great things completely alone. A shared sense of purpose and a network of like-minded individuals can amplify those small actions, helping you ride the wave of encouragement when your motivation dips. And it's perfectly natural for your motivation to waver. The key is to have enough structure in place that you don't abandon your habits entirely when life gets busy or obstacles arise. An aspect of the book that feels especially motivating is how it underscores the fact that you don't have to be perfect. The Slight Edge isn't about rigid rules or beating yourself up when you make a mistake. Instead, it gently reminds you that even if you veer off track, you can always get back on. If you missed your morning walk 3 days in a row, you can decide today to go for that short walk. If you spent money on something you really didn't need, you can still make a better financial decision next time. Olson's approach is compassionate. He knows that people are human, that slip-ups are part of any journey, and that the real test is whether you recommit to those slight edge habits even after you've stumbled. This forgiving yet firm approach helps you keep your eyes on the bigger picture. Every day is a new chance to choose actions that serve your long-term goals. In addition to discussing daily habits and discipline, the book also encourages you to dream a little bigger. You might find yourself reflecting on areas of your life where you've sold yourself short because you assumed you couldn't achieve a certain milestone or that it would be too challenging or time-consuming. But if you're already committed to steady, incremental progress, the Slight Edge argues that you have more power than you realize. By applying the same principle to loftier aspirations, you break them down into steps that look and feel very doable on a daily basis. That shift can awaken a sense of hope and excitement because you start thinking, hey, maybe I really can learn that language, start that business, or run that marathon. The entire premise of the book is that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things when they harness the momentum of small, consistent decisions. As you absorb this philosophy, you'll also notice that Olson encourages a long-term view rather than a quick-fix mentality. The world is filled with overnight success stories, or at least it sometimes looks that way. The Slight Edge lifts the curtain on that myth, revealing that what appears to be overnight success usually results from a long period of gradual growth, unseen effort, and consistent action. This resonates with so many readers because it removes the pressure to achieve dramatic results immediately and instead gives you permission to think in terms of months and years, not just days and weeks. And there's a real freedom in that perspective. Once you accept that real, sustainable improvement is a marathon, not a sprint, you stop feeling so discouraged when you don't see immediate transformations. you're more likely to stick with your plan, to learn from your small mistakes, and to keep moving forward at your own steady pace. Throughout the book, Olson's tone remains encouraging and optimistic, and that's exactly how you begin to feel about your own journey. Even if you're coming from a place of frustration or self-doubt, The Slight Edge offers a roadmap that feels accessible rather than daunting. You don't need expensive tools or specialized training to start applying it. You just need the willingness to consistently do the small things that align with your bigger aspirations. It could be as basic as drinking enough water each day, setting aside 5 minutes to reflect on your goals, or making one extra phone call in your business. Over time, these actions pile up. And as you start to see the benefits, maybe your relationships improve because you made those small gestures of kindness, or your bank account grows because you stayed disciplined with your spending, you become more motivated to continue. That positive reinforcement cycle begins to feed on itself in the best possible way. As you near the end of The Slight Edge, you realize that the book isn't offering a magic bullet. Rather, it's revealing a pattern that's been in front of you all along. You also realize that the power to shape your life rests in the commitments you make on a daily basis. This can be liberating if you choose to see it as proof that you have the power to change. The journey still requires effort, patience, and persistence. But knowing that you control the process day by day can give you a renewed sense of confidence in your own abilities. Life's inevitable challenges and setbacks might not sting as much once you see them as temporary dips on a larger upward path, one that you construct through consistency and faith in your ability to keep moving forward. Finally, there's something comforting about knowing you don't have to do it alone. By learning about the Slight Edge philosophy, you become part of a community of people who believe that real success is within anyone's grasp, provided they're willing to commit to these small steps. You might start sharing your experiences with friends or family, encouraging them to make their own Slight Edge commitments. You might even develop new friendships or partnerships based on mutual support in these daily endeavors. That spirit of collaboration and positivity can further reinforce your resolve, because it's a lot easier to stay on track when you see others benefiting from the same approach and cheerleading your progress. In the end, what the Slight Edge offers is a reminder that you do have a choice each day, a choice to take actions that move you forward or actions or inaction that hold you back. It's not an intimidating choice once you realize the power of incremental gains. With each small decision, you cast a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Every time you follow through on your plan, whether it's saving a few dollars, reading a few pages, or making a healthy meal, you're creating a future that's more aligned with your dreams and goals. This ongoing process, repeated over months and years, fundamentally changes your trajectory. It's inspiring, it's doable, and it's yours for the taking. So if you're ready to see how such a straightforward principle can bring extraordinary results, The Slight Edge may be the spark that helps you step into a more purposeful, successful version of yourself. All it takes is trusting the process, doing the small things, and letting those small things grow into something bigger than you ever imagined. That's the beautiful promise the book holds, and with a willingness to apply it in your own life, you just might find yourself looking back one day and realizing that all those seemingly tiny choices indeed created a remarkable difference. Thank you for watching. We provide complete and concise summaries of impactful books to save you time and help you effectively grasp their key insights.